What's going on, everyone? Today we're diving into one of my favorite mountain towns out there. Pagosa Springs is a small town located in the heart of Colorado's San Juan Mountains. It's just under a 5-hour drive from Denver, a 3-hour drive from Santa Fe and Albuquerque, New Mexico, and just 1 hour east of Durango. Most people probably know this town for its famous hot springs, but there's so much more to Pagosa Springs, a place filled with year-round adventure, small town charm, hikes, and a world-class ski resort. Pagosa really has it all, and this video will be a comprehensive travel guide with everything you need to know to visit, so hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and let's dive right in. This is my top 10 places to visit and things to do in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. First up is Pagosa Hot Springs, or more importantly, the Springs Resort at Pagosa Springs. This resort is the crown jewel of Pagosa, and it's home to my favorite geothermal hot springs in the country. The Springs Resort is situated right along the San Juan River with 25 geothermal soaking pools. Although it's not just a place to hang out in hot springs, it's also a world-class resort that makes for the perfect wellness retreat, a place that's great to spend a weekend at with loved ones if you're looking for a nice reset. The Springs also has a spa on property and a handful of activities to make your relaxing getaway that much better. Things like aqua yoga, aqua sound bathing, gratitude ceremony, and so much more. To visit, you can purchase a day pass for 9 a.m. to around 9 to 10 p.m. with prices starting at $67 per adult and $35 per child with locals discounts, and those prices are at the time of making this video, or you can book an overnight stay at the resort, which in my opinion is a much better way to visit. This way you can spend the day out adventuring and hiking in Pagosa Springs and then end your day soaking at the resort. Plus, as a hotel guest, you get guest-only robes and access to 24-hour soaking, so you can soak under the stars at any time of the night. And I do want to add that the resort is currently undergoing a big expansion with 78 new rooms and suites, 27 new pools, a farm-to-table restaurant with an event space, and a state-of-the-art geothermal spa with so much more. Let's dive right into number 2, which is kind of an extension of number 1, but if you're visiting Pagosa Springs, you need to come and marvel at the world's deepest hot spring. The Springs Resort in Pagosa is home to this wild geothermal feature called the Mother Spring, which is more than 1,000 feet deep. For perspective, the Mother Spring is deeper than the height of the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, the Hoover Dam, and the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. As you've probably seen on the channel, Bri and I have traveled all across the globe and have been to a lot of hot springs. From New Zealand to the Alps to Yellowstone and beyond, I never would have initially guessed that the world's deepest hot spring would be in my now home state of Colorado. It's beautiful and has the richest and deepest aqua blue color. The Springs Resort actually uses the water from the Mother Spring to heat the rest of the pools on property, and it even uses some of its hydrothermal power to power some of the town. So when you're visiting Pagosa, make sure to stop by and check out the Mother Spring. And before I wrap up with the Springs Resort and the Mother Spring, it's worth mentioning that this resort just opened up a sister resort in Southern California called Murrieta Hot Springs Resort. If you want to check that out, I do have a video on the channel with all the details you need to know to visit. Anyways, next up at number 3, we're taking a hot air balloon ride around town. When we did this, we went with Rocky Mountain Balloon Adventures. The team behind this company is amazing, and we had such a great day out with them. We did a sunrise ride in the early summer, and I couldn't recommend the early wake-up call enough. Seeing the sunrise behind the San Juan Mountains and seeing the beauty of Pagosa Springs is an experience like no other. It's also a great family-friendly activity if no one in your group is afraid of heights. Aside from the amazing views of the San Juan Mountains, you'll also have breathtaking views of Pagosa Peak, and you'll fly over Lake Pagosa, Village Lake, and Lake Forest. Next up, we're hiking Opal Lake, a beautiful and pristine alpine lake hike with the trailhead just being 40 minutes from downtown Pagosa. Any car can make it to the trailhead, and the drive getting here is stunning the whole way. Then the hike itself is just under 2.5 miles round trip with 500 feet of elevation gain. We did this hike during fall foliage, although we were a little early for peak colors. Nonetheless, this hike is awesome, and if you have the choice to, I would definitely recommend doing this during fall foliage. The watercolor of the lake is a beautiful light blue, and it is crystal clear water. Because the hike is on the shorter end at 2.5 miles, I think this would also be a great activity to do with the family. We hiked this in the early morning and only saw one other couple on the trail, so if you want to beat any crowds, I would suggest hiking on a weekday and in the early morning. Next up, we're doing another hike, but this time to a beautiful waterfall called Piedra Falls, and this is another family-friendly hike. It's just 1 mile round trip with 100 feet of elevation gain. Any car can also make it to this trailhead. We drove here in my Toyota Corolla. It's a 1-hour drive from downtown, but it's mostly because some of the drive is on a dirt road. It's only a 30-mile drive. This drive is also really scenic, especially in the second half of the drive. The trail is beautiful, and on a hot day, it's the perfect place to take a dip in the water below the waterfall. The waterfall is slightly tucked away behind behind some of the rock walls, so be careful as you hike around the rocks to get the best view, but this place is amazing and a hike I'd recommend to everyone visiting Pagosa Springs. I'd also like to pop in and mention that I have hundreds of videos on the channel, ranging from top 10s like this to travel guides and hiking vlogs from around the globe. I've traveled to over 50 countries. Bri and I have been over to 25 countries together, and we've done more road trips than we could count. We try to make the best travel guides that we can to help you all plan your next adventure or road trip, and since Bri grew up in Colorado and I now live here, we have tons of top 10s from all across Colorado, so make sure to subscribe and check those out. But back to the video. At number 6, we will actually be taking a day trip from Pagosa Springs to Colorado's Great Sand Dunes. The Sand Dunes are a national park, so you'll have to buy a day pass or use an annual federal parks pass. The Great Sand Dunes are just north of Alamosa, and it's only a 2-hour drive from Pagosa Springs, and if you're staying at the Springs Resort for a few nights, this is an awesome day trip where you'll actually also pass a few other locations on this list that I'll touch on in just a minute, but then you can finish your day coming back to the Springs and soaking after the long day trip. The Sand Dunes are a great place for landscape photography, family outings, hiking and sledding or sandboarding down the dunes. You can rent a sled or sandboard on the final road into the dunes near the campgrounds. The sand dunes stand tall at 7,700 feet above sea level, and they're backdropped by a handful of Colorado's 14,000 foot mountains. It's such a beautiful and diverse landscape, and if you're looking to hike here, there's only really one hike worth mentioning, which is High Dune, a hike to the tallest sand dune. It's a 3-mile round trip hike with around 650 feet of elevation gain, but I will say between the altitude and hiking on the sand, it does feel like there's way more vertical gain than 650 feet. At number 7, we're going to have one of the most accessible activities on this list, which is a scenic drive along Wolf Creek Pass. This scenic drive is 26 miles and is a stretch of Highway 160 just between Pagosa Springs and South Fork. The summit of the pass stands tall at 10,856 feet above sea level, and throughout the entire drive there's amazing views. And while the drive between South Fork and Pagosa is only 50 minutes, you'll want to budget additional time if this is your first time driving the pass, because if you're like us, you'll want to stop at every single roadside stop to take photos. Plus, your car might need a break along the steep mountain roads before you reach the hairpin curve. And next up at number 8 is Wolf Creek Ski Area, which is actually situated along Wolf Creek Pass Scenic Drive, so this will be piggybacking off of number 7. The ski resort is just 1 mile east of the mountain pass summit. The ski area has 1,600 skiable acres with a split up of about 20% beginner terrain, 35% intermediate, 25% advanced, and 20% of the terrain is deemed for experts only. This resort gets some of the most snowfall in the entire state, and it continues to thrive as it's privately owned and not under Epic Pass or Icon Pass. Next up, we have Treasure Falls, which is also another stop along the scenic drive, but this stop is much closer to Pagosa Springs than it is South Fork. It's just an 18-minute drive from downtown Pagosa. The waterfall is super easy to reach, and it's just off the side of Route 160. You can stop and enjoy the waterfall from your car, or you can hike right to the base of the waterfall with a 0.9-mile round-trip hike with 220 feet of elevation gain. The waterfall itself falls 105 feet, and because it's on the side of the highway, it's a great place to visit that's accessible year-round so long as the pass is open. We've seen it in both the winter and the summer, and it is beautiful in both, and it's really cool to see it frozen in the winter. Last up at number 10 is going to be more of an activity than a destination. So at number 10, we're going to be kayaking or tubing down the San Juan River. This is the best summer activity to do on a hot day. The river cuts right through downtown Pagosa with the Springs Resort on one side of the river and Main Street on the other side. And if you don't have your own tube or raft, there's multiple places in town where you can rent a kayak, tube, or stand-up paddleboard. And before we sign off, I'd like to add a quick bonus destination to the list, and that is Chimney Rock. Chimney Rock is a beautiful landmark between Pagosa Springs and Durango that's worth checking out, whether it's hiking in the area or just doing a roadside stop for a photo of the rock formation. Anyways, that is going to wrap up this video. I really hope you liked it and found some value in it, and if you're still here, thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments, or I'll catch you on another video.